Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Gene Edwards. You're watching Lubed. This is a semi-live edition, as this is going to be pre-recorded on YouTube and then showing later. I have a very special guest, a guest from way back in the day, returning to the program. Welcome back, Sammy. Welcome back, Sammy. How you doing, Sammy?
I'm doing great, buddy. How you doing?
I am actually very, very good. I'm happy to have you back. It's been a long time. You know what? It's been almost a year since you've been on this show. I think the last time was March of last year.
Has
When
it been that long, really?
it has, I think it was the last trade deadlines last time we did it, or I don't know
Oh,
if we did, or did we do a playoff one? But
I, we,
regardless,
mu- we must have done playoffs. I remember doing one for the Battle of Alberta, so probably about April, May.
could have very well have been. Um, so yeah, it's been definitely a long, long time. What have you been up to since then?
Nothing super crazy to be honest with you. I mean, I've moved to Alberta now, so I'm no longer in BC. I now live in southern Alberta, so I've been enjoying that. I've been having fun down here, so it's been good.
Really, really good. Really good that you're doing well. Uh, those of you who are new to the channel, because back in the day when Sammy was aboard, I only had about maybe 20 subscribers. So there's probably 70 of you guys that are being introduced to Sammy for the very first time. Unfortunately, guys, he's a Vancouver Canucks fan, so don't boo on him too much. It is what it is. But you know what? Hey, he's loyal. And I actually have respect for Vancouver Canucks fans, considering all the problems they had, the ones that actually stick it out and stick with them. You got to give them some props for their either insanity or I'm just going to move into this screen. Hopefully he returns. I have. Oh, there he is. Sammy is back. Okay. Oh, really? Okay. See, it's with these transitions and that. So this is the first time we're doing this, by the way, live with this new software. So lots of changes have occurred since we last talked, Sammy. Let me get your thoughts on what's been going on with the Vancouver Canucks this year, and
Hmm.
yeah, to start just to start off with that, since you're kind of the Vancouver insider.
Well, it's been a struggle of a year, that is for sure. I know after last season, I had major hopes for this year. I really did, and I think a lot of Vancouver Canucks fans did. Um, just how well they finished the season, how well they played under Bruce Boudreau for the second half of the year, finishing about 5 points out of the playoffs, not too far out. It looked like this year would be the year they finally make it back in, and that guys like Pedersen and potentially Besser and Horvat and Demko could really take that next step, that next level. But unfortunately, it didn't really happen to start the year. They went winless in their first seven, and things just seemed to fall off the rails. Demko didn't look like Demko, the Vesna caliber trophy or Vesna caliber goaltender that he was throughout the latter half of last year, and that top goalie that he has been throughout the majority of his career. Stepping into this year, it just for some reason nothing worked. It just wasn't working. And then unfortunately, Bruce Boudreau just wasn't treated the best for sure. And I'm not going to try and sit there and play devil's advocate for management and ownership because I am as critical about them as anybody. I miss Bruce. I loved Boudreau when he was here. Fan favorite coach. I have cried twice watching hockey games in my life at the end of games twice in my life. One was in Game 7 actually in 2015 when Vancouver lost in Game 6 to Calgary in the first round of the playoffs. And then I cried at the end of Boudreau's final game in Vancouver when he was standing on the bench, uh, looking out on the crowd there at Rogers Arena and those tears in his eyes. It was hard not to have a tear in your own eye watching that. So
It was definitely pretty emotional. That's 100%. Okay, so now let's get into current stuff of what's going on. Obviously, the Edmonton Oilers tomorrow night are going to take on the new lineup with Tarasenko and the Rangers. Uh, what are your thoughts on this game? This is going to be a tough one for the Oilers, and the Oilers now are 2 losses in a row, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah, it would be 2 losses in a row as they lost in overtime to Detroit last night, or in the shootout, in the 5th round of the shootout. Uh, where do you think, or what do you think is going to happen tomorrow night when the Oilers take on the New York Rangers?
this is definitely an interesting Rangers team now this year. I really thought that they'd be competing with the Hurricanes for first in their division, but they really haven't up until this point. I mean, they've been playing better as of late for sure, but I thought they'd be close to the top with the Hurricanes, to be completely honest. But Shesterkin hasn't played like he did last year. He's been good, but he hasn't played to the level that he was last year. Um, and so them going out and adding Tarasenko recently, in that first game, he scored what 2 goals in his first game back or in his first game with the Rangers, and looked very good alongside of Panarin there. It's going to be an interesting matchup for the Oilers. And the Oilers have played very well lately. They went from looking like maybe a wild card team to probably stepping into a divisional spot. I don't know if they'll be first in the division. Depends on how well they play the rest of the season, but I think they'll definitely be one of the top 3 teams in the division. It's gonna be an entertaining game. I think for sure it's gonna be an entertaining game. Rangers are coming off a 6-4 win over the Canucks. Edmonton's coming off a loss in the shootout to Detroit. It's gonna be an interesting matchup.
I believe that's the Eastern Conference. Uh, it's kind of small on my laptop, but I believe I got the Eastern Conference. Yes, I do have the Eastern Conference standings up. I'm not sure where. Do you have the standings posted on my laptop? I don't have the greatest eyesight, so it comes up very tiny here.
I can see them.
Oh, you can see them. Okay, so where are the Rangers right now in the standings?
Division.
3rd in the Metropolitan. And who's next? Who's next? Let's see. I know this.
So the Carolina Hurricanes are first with 78 points. The New Jersey Devils are second with 75, and the New York Rangers are third with 72.
Okay, it comes up. It's a little wee box that I'm looking at, and
That's all right.
I can't see it. I know it's probably the viewers are like, "Holy cow! What's going on? How come you can't read it?" But it comes out very tiny on here. So yeah, the Rangers are obviously in tough. Pull up the Western standings here, Sammy, and then we'll discuss there about what is going on in the West here. As I just transitioned over to the West. Okay, so the West, you got the Oilers in the first wild card position.
Yeah.
Calgary is in the second wild card position, and there's literally 6 points separating, I believe, from the last I remember. See, I'm going off of memory here. I have that to my advantage, whereas the Eastern Conference, I didn't know what the hell was going on. But I can tell you right now, this Western Conference is a crapshoot. Who knows who's going to wind up in first? Who knows who's going to wind up in second, third, and who the playoff pitcher is going to be? What are your thoughts on the Western Conference?
I agree that the Western Conference is kind of a crapshoot, like you said. Specifically, the Pacific Division. I think the Central Division, honestly, for the most part, is set. I think those top 3 teams between Dallas, Winnipeg, and Colorado are going to be those top 3 teams for the Central. But the Pacific Division, it definitely is going to be Vegas, LA, Seattle, Edmonton, Calgary. It just kind of depends on what order that's going to be in. I don't see LA being first in that division. Vegas could still be first in that division, but with them losing Mark Stone, I don't like their chances of finishing first in that division. Edmonton's only 2 points back of Vegas, but Vegas has a game in hand on them. Edmonton could definitely come in if they stop losing and can win games. They definitely could step in and be that first team in that division, Pacific. Um, Calgary, they could with probably Minnesota for that second wild card team. Nashville, I don't think is making the playoffs. It's already being reported that they're expected to be sellers, not buyers at the deadline. So who knows there? Minnesota, Calgary, I think are fighting out for that second wild card spot, and then after that, it's who knows.
Give me your thoughts on, and this is something that I'm actually starting to really. I understand the fan base starting to complain about. It's how in both conferences you got the division second versus third. So again, we're probably going to see Toronto versus Tampa in that first round. You'll probably see maybe two super studs in the Pacific, whether it be Seattle, Edmonton, LA. What are your thoughts on the way this playoff format is with this wild card? To be honest with you, in my opinion, I'd like to see them go back to 1 versus 8, or even make it really exciting and go 1 versus 16. That would be something that I would definitely want to see going in future years.
Man, 1 versus 16 would be interesting. Um, just because that's every team in the National Hockey League making the playoffs. Um, so just to see like Vegas or sorry, Dallas currently being first in the West, seeing them play Chicago in the first round would be interesting. And do you do like a 5 game series? Do you do best of 3? Like what do you do there? Like that would be crazy to see. Um, that's something I don't think the NHL would ever do. It would be fun to see, but I don't see them ever doing that. I would like to see the 1 versus 8 format come back. Sidney Crosby said it at the All Star game. I know other people have, or other players have said it that they'd like to see 1 versus 8 come back. Um, I think the reason, if my memory serves me correct, the reason the National Hockey League went to the wild card format was because it was easier on broadcasters and easier on channels to be able to advertise matchups. Um, because of the 1 versus 4 seeding essentially. So, like for instance, yeah, Toronto and Tampa are going to play in the first round. That's a given, um, and that's unfortunate. And I think currently the way the standings are, or at least uh, last I was kind of reading about it, was that even with the 1 versus 8 format, Toronto and Tampa, just the way the things are matched up, would be playing each other anyway. Um, so that's unfortunate. But regardless, with the divisional format, Toronto and Tampa playing, whoever wins that, Boston would be playing as it stands Washington. So if Boston beats Washington, you can automatically already be like, all right, so who's going to face the big bad Bruins? Is it going to be to the original 6 matchup of Toronto and Boston, or the 3-time finalist Tampa Bay Lightning playing Boston? Like you can amp it up and prepare that series ahead of time. Where if it's 1 versus 8, the way they used to do that was it reseeded after every round. So you can't sit there and be like, all right, well, okay, Boston won, but who do they play now? Like, they might play New Jersey next round. They might play Tampa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would too. I think 1 versus 8 was perfect. It would be intriguing to see 1 versus 16, and then you do a 2-3-2 format for the games, like two at home, three for the second set of games on the visitor, and then two back at home. That would be very, because it'd be neat to see, like, say the first round is Edmonton versus Florida or Tampa or Toronto, or it'd be neat to see that. That's 100% where I'd be leaning to, just to really change it up and really spice it up. I don't like this format because right off the hop you're getting two major players, and I guess eventually they're going to have to meet each other and eventually collide. But you like to build that suspension leading towards that matchup, like Toronto and uh, Toronto and Tampa to meet instead of just boom banging it out in the first round. So yeah, I would like to actually see the wild cards gone. Top four in each division make it, and that's it.
I also, when you said 1 verse 16, I thought you meant 1 verse 16 per conference, not 1 through 16 first in the NHL through 16th in the NHL. So I was like, you want all 32 teams in the National Hockey League to make the playoffs? But I realize you mean first in the league through 16th in the league. That would be interesting. That would definitely be interesting to have Boston and first playing Calgary in 16th in the first round would be very interesting.
It would be, wouldn't it? It would be really awesome. No, you definitely don't want to see like Vancouver, or who's the worst team right now in the league? Who's the worst team? Anyway, you don't want to see. Yeah, like what's the point? You got the best team against the worst team. It's going to be just like what's the point, right? Like there's no point to it. There's no chance that Arizona's going to beat like the Boston Bruins, right? Like it's just it's 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 not gonna like
Madness style, you got 1 verse 32. How crazy would
yeah.
that be if somehow, by the grace of God, the Columbus Blue Jackets beat the Boston Bruins in the first round? How crazy would that be?
It'd be
Like,
crazy, but it'd be too watered down. Like, and that's kind of what they're doing with FIFA World Cup the next time when it comes to Canada,
yeah,
US, and Mexico. It's going to be too watered down, I
isn't
think.
like 64 teams playing in the
Yeah,
next one?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, like, all three teams, Mexico, US, and Canada, are in, guaranteed in,
yeah.
because they're host countries. Ah, but that's soccer. Anyway, Sammy, there's a lot of discussion going on, and I'm going to pull up this transition now. Regarding some big names in the NHL potentially coming to the Edmonton Oilers. Uh, in the last, like, it's gone to a point where I'm actually kind of getting sick of it. Because you hear about it every day. Even I got kind of did a video last week, saying Jesse Puljujärvi was imminent and there was a trade going to happen, and that was I think last Tuesday, and here we are. He's still on the team. And this is the latest tweet that I just received from, and I'm gonna just dial it up here. Just got to get my phone open. But out of these three pitchers here, so I got Eric Carlson, Patrick Kane, and I got Arizona
Jacob Chikrin.
Coyote, Jacob Chikrin. Yeah. Out of those three guys, do you think those guys are going to be in the orange and blue in by next month?
Any one of them or all three of them?
Well, definitely not all three of them. We know
all,
that much.
all three of them, absolutely not. Jacob Chikrin, from my understanding, him going to LA is almost a done deal. Um, to my knowledge, or last I heard, last I read, was that Chikrin to the Los Angeles Canes is almost a done deal.
Yeah.
Um, Patrick Kane wanted to go to the New York Rangers, but then the Rangers went out and acquired Tarasenko, and apparently Patrick Kane was not too happy about that. So
No.
where does
No.
Patrick Kane go now? I don't see Patrick Kane going to the Edmonton Oilers. I could see Kane going to, honestly, Buffalo. I could see the Buffalo Sabres trying to take a run at him. He's a local boy. He's from that area. I could see them trying to go after him, bring him home for a couple of years, re-sign him for cheap in the offseason. That could be something I think the Sabres could do.
Okay, so I'm gonna read out the tweet that Frank Saravelli just shot out.
Yeah.
At 3:46 p.m. today, February 16th. It states Oilers and Sharks grinding Erik Karlsson trade details. Deal is close but not imminent. Edmonton must move on from Puljujärvi to make cap space work. Cap space work cap wise. Both both moves could finalize as early as tomorrow. So they're talking about Pugliarvi, and as late as Wednesday, March 3rd. Unlikely, but could get pushed back until the summer too. So, what do you make of that?
You got to think if you're Ken Holland that you don't want to push it until the summer. You want to make that trade now. If you're going for Erik Karlsson, you got to get him on this team as soon as possible. Because the sooner that he is on the Oilers, the better they become, the faster that they can push up the standings, move into probably first in the Pacific. I think they probably make it into first in the Pacific without Karlsson, but you put Karlsson on that team, probably almost, in my opinion, will almost solidify them becoming first in that division. Um, you got to get that deal done as soon as possible, and you got to get, like Saravelli said, Jesse Pugliarvi, you get him gone as quickly as possible too. But who wants Pugliarvi? Who wants that contract?
Well, that's just it. Well, he could be, he's not exactly that expensive, right? And he could be an
Sure.
acclimation product, and a potential rebuild and a potential revisit at what he could potentially do. But like I said, that's in a cap world, it's contracts like that are a lot harder to take a flyer on a player than they were back in the 80s. That's 100% certain. And yeah, what are your thoughts?
He's not making too much. I just looked it up. He's making about 3 million, or he's making $3 million.
3 million,
That's his
yeah.
cap hit. So it's not much, but still, like you said, currently in the flat cap state that the National Hockey League is in, every dollar counts. Um, and so somebody like Pugliarvi, who doesn't really do a whole lot for 3 million, would be a tough pill to swallow. I think, in my opinion, for a lot of general managers. Um, but
And also to note, when you're a general manager in the NHL and you have Connor McDavid saying they want a puck move, they basically there's also the other rumor that both McDavid and Draisaitl went to Holland stating they want Karlsson.
when you got the best player in the world on your team and one of the other best players in the world on your team in Leon Draisaitl, and they're like, "Hey, you need to do this so that we can do something." They're, I mean, I don't know if I'd say they're giving you an ultimatum, but they want that so that they can have the best chance they can. And if you're Ken Holland and you're not giving them that best chance to win a Stanley Cup, what's stopping Draisaitl or McDavid in a couple years when their contracts run out from?
And let's face it, that window is closing. There's what, 2 more years, I think, on Draisaitl's three. I don't know the exact details, but I know that window's closing and it's closing fast. These guys are now in their prime. They're 100% in their prime. This is go time. If we're going to win a cup, it's got to be now or next year, but that's pretty much it. It pretty much boils down to this year or next year.
Absolutely, yeah. You get Erik Karlsson on your team, or some other puck moving defenseman onto that team, and you definitely instantly make that team better for sure. And you're going to give them the best chance to win something, to do something. But if you don't give these guys the best chances that they have entering their primes, I don't know. If I was them, I'd probably be walking too. If I'm looking at this team and being like, there's not enough here to be able to give me the best chance to win a championship, best chance to win the Stanley Cup, why am I staying here? You know?
Thanks once again. I know you got to head out here pretty quick here. Thanks for joining in on this, and I definitely plan on having you aboard in the next little while here. This was a nice little chat. I love your insight all the time. I love how you come across and direct with certain things, because realistically, sometimes it takes a guy from the outside that's not an Oiler fan to realistically give the inside view of a serious situation. And that's why I love having you on the program. Thanks again, man. And we hope to see you very shortly for some more of this. And check it out when it comes up later tonight on YouTube.
Well, dude, my absolute pleasure. We'll have to do this again once the trade deadline rolls around, or after the trade deadline, or or whatever. We'll have to have another discussion.
Messing with these buttons, it's I'm gonna figure out this software eventually where it's just smooth as silk, but right now it's a little work in progress. I think I did a good job at editing this tonight though, so we'll see. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for joining me. I will be doing the live feed of the New York Rangers game tomorrow night with my thoughts, so come and join and have your comments ready. I will be ready to answer them live on air. However, there's a very short window of when I do come on the air, so make sure that you bring your questions ready, and we'll go from there as the Rangers take on the Oilers tomorrow night. This is going to be a epic game because now you got Tarasenko on the lineup, so this should be good. As always, guys, stay healthy, stay happy, stay hydrated, and we will talk soon. Have a great night.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's